Vanessa Blake sat in the courtroom with her back straight and her chin held high, though inside, a storm raged. Her soon-to-be ex-husband, Eric Blake, was seated just a few feet away, whispering something to the woman beside him, Melissa, the pregnant mistress who had helped dismantle their marriage. The room buzzed with quiet tension. Lawyers shuffled papers. A bailiff called out names. Then came Vanessa's voice, calm, clear, and unwavering. "Your Honor," she said, standing up. "Before we proceed, I'd like to call one more witness." Eric turned sharply. His smile faltered. Melissa froze beside him. There was a flicker of confusion, then something deeper, fear. The courtroom door opened. The click of heels echoed across the tile floor. Every head turned to look. The witness stepped inside, and when Eric saw who it was, the color drained from his face. His mouth moved slightly, but no words came out. He never expected this. Not her. Not today. Vanessa didn't look at him. She didn't need to. Her eyes remained steady, focused on the judge. But inside she remembered everything had just weeks earlier. She had been a devoted wife, a full-time mother, and a woman who believed in the man sitting across from her. Now she was something else entirely. As the witness walked forward to take her seat, Vanessa's heart pounded not with fear, but with clarity. So this wasn't just about divorce. This was about truth, dignity, and finally being heard. And the moment had only just begun. Just 2 months before that courtroom moment, Vanessa Blake's life looked picture-perfect from the outside. At 35, she was a part-time translator working from home, raising 2 beautiful children, 8-year-old Sophie and 4-year-old Caleb. Her husband, Eric, had a well-paying job as a department head at a major tech firm. They lived in a quiet suburb just outside Denver, in a spacious house with a backyard full of toys and chalk drawings. From the outside, it was the kind of life most people envied. Vanessa's days were a cycle of school drop-offs, grocery runs, toddler tantrums, and late-night translation work after the kids had gone to sleep. It wasn't glamorous, but it was full of purpose. She cooked, cleaned, read bedtime stories, and managed the household like a silent engine, keeping everything running. And she did it all with love. Eric, though often busy and tired, had always been polite, smiling at the dinner table, helping with bills, occasionally surprising her with flowers. They didn't argue often, and when they did, he'd apologize and say she was the glue of the family. Vanessa believed him. Until the day everything changed. It was supposed to be an ordinary Tuesday. Vanessa was driving home from dropping off a set of papers at a notary's office when she passed by Eric's workplace. She slowed when she saw him standing outside the building, hands in pockets, looking relaxed. She almost rolled down her window to wave. But then a woman in a sleek black coat and high heels walked up to him. Confident, tall. She reached up and kissed him on the mouth, casually, like they'd done it 100 times. Vanessa's breath caught in her throat. She watched in stunned silence as Eric smiled, wrapped his arms around the woman, and led her to his car. They drove off together without a care in the world. She sat frozen in her own car, fingers gripping the steering wheel, heart racing. Was this real? How long had this been going on? How had she missed it? She blinked back, the sting in her eyes. There was no time to fall apart. She still had to pick up Sophie from school in 20 minutes. The shock would have to wait. That evening, once the children were asleep, Vanessa walked downstairs with the weight of the day pressing against her chest. Eric was at the kitchen table, scrolling through his phone, a plate of reheated lasagna in front of him. He looked up, smiled casually. "Hey love, you okay?" he asked, reaching for her cheek. Vanessa stepped back. "Eric," she said, her voice steady but low. "Is there something you want to tell me?" He blinked, confused. "About what?" "I saw you today. Outside your office," she continued. "I saw the woman, the kiss, the hug. Who is she?" The silence that followed was deafening. Eric put down his fork slowly. His smile disappeared. "Vanessa, I didn't mean for you to find out like this." "So, it's true?" she asked, even though she already knew the answer. "Yes," he said, almost too calmly. "Her name is Melissa. She's a colleague. We've been seeing each other for a few months." Vanessa felt her stomach drop. "And you didn't think your wife, the mother of your children, deserved to know?" Eric ran a hand through his hair, frustrated. "I didn't want to hurt you, but I can't walk away from her either." "What does that mean?" she asked. "You want to keep both of us, live some double life while I cook dinner and raise our kids, and she gets your lunch breaks and hotel rooms." I don't want to divorce, he said, looking her in the eye. The kids need a stable home. No, Vanessa replied, voice shaking with fury. What they need is a father who doesn't lie, who doesn't bring another woman into their mother's life behind her back. Eric's expression changed. You don't understand everything, Vanessa. Melissa's pregnant. The room seemed to spin. You've got to be kidding me, she whispered. You cheated. And now she's pregnant. And you still expect me to play house like nothing happened. I'm sorry, Eric muttered, but I'm not leaving her either. I can't. Vanessa backed away from the table. Then you're making this easy. I'm filing for divorce. First thing tomorrow. Eric's voice hardened. You do that and you'll regret it. I'll take the kids, the house. You won't walk away with much. Think about what you're doing. Her eyes narrowed. Don't threaten me, she said. Try to take my children and you'll see exactly what I'm capable of. She turned and walked out, tears rising but her spine straight. A part of her had just snapped, and it wasn't coming back. Not ever again. The next morning came quietly. Eric left the house before sunrise. No goodbye, no note, not even the usual coffee mug in the sink. Vanessa moved through the morning on autopilot. She packed Sophie's lunchbox, helped Caleb into his shoes, answered emails for a translation job, all while trying to keep her composure. But the numbness didn't last long. That afternoon, everything shattered again. Eric came home unexpectedly and he wasn't alone. Melissa walked in right behind him, her coat slung over her arm, her pregnant belly just beginning to show beneath a fitted sweater. Vanessa stepped down from the stairs, stunned. What is she doing here? Eric didn't answer. He simply walked to the kitchen, opened the fridge, and poured himself a drink. Melissa helped herself to the pancakes Vanessa had made earlier that morning for the kids. This house smells amazing, Melissa said casually. You're a great cook. I might keep that recipe. Vanessa blinked in disbelief. You think this is a joke? You're in my house, where my children live. Melissa looked her dead in the eye. Soon it won't be yours. Eric and I are getting married. He's filing for full custody. You're not fit to raise them on your own. Vanessa turned to Eric, voice trembling. Tell me she's lying. Eric avoided her gaze. I told you, Vanessa, you shouldn't have filed for divorce. You forced this. You walked away, remember? No, she said, nearly choking. You cheated. You lied. And now you're trying to erase me. Melissa leaned against the kitchen counter with a smug smile. We'll make this home ours. A real family. That was the moment it clicked. Vanessa didn't scream. She didn't throw anything. Instead, she walked upstairs to the children's rooms. Kids, she said softly, kneeling down, we're going to take a little trip. Pack a few things. Just the essentials. Where are we going? Sophie asked, eyes wide. Someplace safe, Vanessa replied. She grabbed important documents, her laptop, and a change of clothes. With trembling hands, she loaded the kids into the car, quietly pulled out of the driveway, and didn't look back. She didn't know where they were going yet. But she knew one thing for sure. They weren't going to live like that. Vanessa drove through the city with her hands tight on the steering wheel, glancing at her kids in the rearview mirror. Sophie stared out the window, silent. Caleb clutched a stuffed dinosaur, confused but quiet. They had left everything behind. The house, the furniture, the backyard swing set, the life Vanessa thought was hers. She didn't have a plan, just a few $1,000s in savings, and the emergency fund Eric still transferred monthly for household expenses. She couldn't go to Eric's parents. They had already made it clear they stood by their son. Her own mother lived across the country and wasn't in good health. Friends. Vanessa had distanced herself from most social connections over the years, too busy raising kids and holding the household together. But she had to move, fast. She pulled into a gas station parking lot, handed the kids some snacks, and opened her phone. Apartment listings, short-term rentals, anything within 15 minutes of Sophie's school. That's when she saw it. A modest 2-bedroom apartment in an older brick complex near the park. Clean, affordable, available immediately. Vanessa called the number. Hi, I'm looking to rent your unit. It's for me and my 2 children. Yes, we can meet in 40 minutes. She arrived early, parking outside the small building with its overgrown hedges and faded shutters. The kids were fussy, tired, asking questions. Mom, why aren't we going home? Sophie finally asked. Vanessa crouched beside her. This is our new home for now, sweetheart. Just for a little while. Somewhere peaceful. The landlord showed up, a middle-aged man named Greg. He had kind eyes and didn't ask too many questions. He opened the door to a freshly cleaned apartment with simple furniture, neutral walls, and a warm, lived-in feel. Vanessa looked around the small kitchen, the narrow hallway, the 2 bedrooms that would have to do. "We'll take it," she said. That night, Vanessa tucked the kids into their new beds. She lay awake in hers, staring at the ceiling. The fear was still there, but so was something else. Resolve. She had no safety net, no backup, just her kids, her work laptop, and her own determination. And for now, that would have to be enough. Vanessa knew survival wasn't enough. She needed to fight back. The next morning, after dropping Sophie at school and Caleb at daycare, she sat in a quiet cafe with her laptop open and a worn notebook beside her. Her friend Tasha had responded to her late-night text with the name Daniel Rhodes, a family lawyer known for being calm, strategic, and fiercely protective of mothers. Vanessa called. "Mr. Rhodes? My name is Vanessa Blake. I need legal help. It's urgent." Daniel agreed to meet that afternoon. Vanessa picked a cafe with a play corner so Caleb could stay occupied. When Daniel arrived tall, soft-spoken, wearing a blue shirt with rolled-up sleeves, he sat across from her and opened a leather-bound notebook. "Tell me everything," he said gently. And she did. Vanessa explained the affair, the pregnancy, Eric's threats, the day she fled with her children, and the current living situation. Her voice cracked only once when she mentioned Melissa eating pancakes in her kitchen. Daniel nodded slowly. "Vanessa, you're not alone. Family courts don't just hand over children to the higher earner. You're their primary caregiver. That counts for a lot." She exhaled for what felt like the first time in days. "But Eric's determined," she said. "He wants the house. The kids. He thinks I can't survive without him." Daniel's eyes sharpened. "Then he underestimates you." He instructed her to start documenting everything: receipts, texts, voice notes, a record of every drop-off, every meal made, every night spent rocking a sick child to sleep. Evidence of parenting, love, and labor. Meanwhile, Eric continued his campaign with arrogance. He filed a counterclaim for full custody and full property ownership. To the court, he painted Vanessa as unstable, unreliable, financially incapable. But Vanessa had receipts, literally. Months of bank transfers showing she paid utilities. Photos of the kids' school projects, dentist visits, birthday parties she planned solo. Witnesses from school and daycare who had never once met Eric. The moment of reckoning came at the second hearing. Daniel stood confidently as Vanessa's attorney. "Your Honor," he said, "we'd like to call a witness." Eric leaned back in his chair, smug. But when the door opened, his eyes widened. His own mother stepped inside. She had been quiet throughout the entire ordeal, choosing not to take sides. But now she had enough. She testified to Vanessa's devotion. She admitted she hadn't even known about Melissa until Vanessa told her. She revealed that Eric had been seeing Melissa for nearly a year and had lied to everyone. The courtroom shifted. The judge frowned. Melissa looked like she wanted to disappear. Eric said nothing. Vanessa sat still, calm but vibrating inside. For once, the truth wasn't being questioned. It was finally being heard. The final ruling came 3 weeks later. Vanessa sat alone on a wooden bench outside the courtroom, hands clasped tightly in her lap. She had done everything she could, gathered evidence, showed up, told the truth. Now, all that remained was the judge's decision. When the clerk called her name, she stood tall and walked in. The judge read the verdict slowly, each word striking like a drumbeat. Vanessa would retain primary custody of Sophie and Caleb. Eric would receive visitation rights, alternate weekends, supervised if necessary. The house would be sold, and proceeds split evenly. Eric's petition for full custody and sole ownership was denied. Vanessa blinked, barely breathing. The judge's voice faded into the background as relief flooded her chest like warm water after a storm. She had done it. Melissa didn't even show up that day. According to mutual acquaintance, she had left Eric just 2 weeks after the last hearing too, overwhelmed by the mess he had dragged her into. "I'm not cut out for this," she had reportedly said. Eric moved into a small condo on the other side of town. His visits with the children were polite but infrequent. The man who once promised forever now looked like a stranger at the door. Vanessa, meanwhile, settled into her new apartment with quiet pride. She replaced the curtains, painted the walls, built a bookshelf with Sophie, planted herbs on the windowsill with Caleb. Piece by piece, she created something new, something hers. No longer just a survival story. but a beginning. And this time, one she wrote herself. Some nights after the kids were asleep and the apartment was quiet, Vanessa would sit by the window with a cup of tea, watching the city lights blink in the distance. She still thought about the house sometimes, the garden, the kitchen where Caleb took his first steps, the hallway where Sophie once taped up her finger paintings. But she no longer missed the life inside those walls. What she had built now, though smaller, simpler, and quieter, was hers. Every corner of it had been fought for, every moment earned. People often asked her how she found the strength to leave. The truth was, she didn't feel strong when she left. She felt scared, alone, shaken to her core. But the thought of raising her children in a home built on lies, of teaching her daughter to tolerate betrayal, or her son to normalize disrespect, that was what gave her the courage to walk out the door. She didn't leave because she stopped loving. She left because she started remembering how to love herself too. To those listening, Vanessa has one thing to say. If you are stuck in something that's quietly breaking you, don't wait for it to fall apart completely. You don't need the world to believe you. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be honest with yourself, first. She smiles now, not the smile of a woman who won, but of someone who reclaimed what mattered most: peace, freedom, and the right to begin again. And if you've ever had to stand up and walk away from something that once felt like your whole world, know this. You are not alone. Your story matters. And sometimes the quietest revenge is simply living well. If Vanessa's story spoke to you, leave a comment below. Share your journey or support someone who's in theirs. Like this video if you believe in healing. Subscribe for more stories like this, real, raw, and told with heart. Because here we tell the truth. And the truth always rises.